Good morning. So, thanks for coming back. If you are new here, thanks for joining us. This has been a wild ride. Um, so this is going to start my very first week bump date. Because I know I've been doing like bi-weekly. So this is going to be 34 weeks. What happened in the week of 34? I am currently almost 36 weeks, but a lot happened in week 34. So this is why I figured I am going to start trying to do weekly bump dates, because I have a feeling that it's just going to get more and more informational in what has happened. So I went in for my week 34 checkup with my doctor, with my OB, who has been my OB since I was 16 weeks. Since when, if you guys have been watching from the beginning, I had switched over to, so I can deliver at the specific hospital. Week 34, I no longer could fit my wedding ring, so that had to come off. That was a very sad day for me. But anyway, so let's get back to my doctor visit. So I'm going to be completely honest. Throughout this whole pregnancy, my first and second trimester, I gained maybe 2 pounds here, 2 pounds there. Every checkup, it was like a 2-pounder. And then at the end of my second trimester, I gained 11 pounds, like within a couple weeks. And he was not happy about that. But in my third trimester, I have been putting on weight. He's getting big. I'll give you a little spoiler alert, which you probably will see in another video, but you just want to hear it again. Spoiler alert, he is over 6 pounds right now. So he is getting to be a big boy. So is what it is. I've probably gained to date 40 pounds. Hold on. No, 33 pounds to be exact. I've gained 33 pounds since the beginning of this pregnancy. You guys all know my weight, so I'm not gonna, you don't know what it is now, but I'm about to tell you. So when I first had my IVF, I weighed 290. So I was, I believe, 290. Or was it 280? No, I think I was 290, but if you goes all the way back to my transfer day, I know I mentioned it there. So I believe I was 290 on my transfer day back in July. And then I am currently right now, mind you, I am almost 36 weeks pregnant. I am 323 pounds as of my last doctor's visit, which was last week. So with that being said, so I think that's what, it's like 33 pounds. I'm gonna try and not be emotional, but you guys, you know me, I'm emotional. So I hired a doula, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned. And we've been sitting together, having meetings. She's been coming to the house and figuring out my birth plan and the plan moving forward for when the baby comes. All surrounding the hospital that I want to birth at. 34 weeks. My doctor comes in. And tells me that he no longer could be my doctor. And not even that, he told me that I cannot birth at this particular hospital. Now, mind you, I'm 34 weeks. I only got a couple more weeks left to have this baby. And the reason behind it is because my BMI was too high. Because it was over 50. And my BMI currently is 52. This is my first time hearing about it since I've transferred at 16 weeks. Now, mind you, when I was at 16 weeks, I was in the 40s with my BMI. So you would have thought maybe it was mentioned, but it wasn't. I never heard of it. Supposedly, he said it was enforced in January, and he's been fighting it ever since. Yet, Here we are weeks before my due date, and I'm just hearing about it. He's had months to process it, and he had months to tell me that, hey, this might be a possibility. And because come January, I was already at that 50 BMI. So he should have told me then. So I cried and I cried and I cried and I got emotional and I didn't know what to say to him. He was just staring at me. He checked, checked baby, everything was good. It wasn't a real true appointment. And the way we left it was he will call me with referrals for a new OB. I can tell you this right now. It's been almost 2 weeks and I have not heard from him. Okay? Just put that out there. So I asked him what goes. He's like, I'm going to call you personally with some referrals because there's one hospital that I really do not want to have my baby in. And we've had a very bad experience and it's very traumatic when I go into that hospital. You are just a number in that hospital. And I don't want to be just a number when I have my baby. We waited 15 years for this. I don't want that. So all the other surrounding hospitals in Rhode Island, which is where I live, is in Rhode Island, they wouldn't take me because it's the same reason, my BMI. Except for one hospital, they wouldn't take me because they have no availability for doctors. I couldn't get an appointment with a new OB. So which means I would have no prenatal care until the day I deliver. Now mind you, I have high blood pressure. Well, chronic high blood pressure. So, and not to mention, I've had premature water break before. I've had many losses. So this is not something that, oh, she don't need prenatal care at the end. This is the prime time I'm going to need it. So ultimately, my only option was to find a doctor at this particular hospital I do not want to birth in. So despite my feelings towards it, I called my old OB before I transferred, the one that knew my whole entire history that I've been part of for all my losses for the most part. I called that doctor's office back and I explained the situation. And I asked them if they would take me back as a patient. And they said, oh, we have to check with the practice manager, which was something I was getting a lot of when I would call around to different OBs. Their answer was, I have no availability, but I am too far along for them to take me on anyways. Because I had a choice for one doctor at the other hospital that wouldn't take me, but he refused to take me because I was too far along and too high risk. So that was the problem I was coming around with. So I called my old OB and said, hey, listen, you guys know my history. You were there for the very first beginning of my pregnancy. It's just, pretty much half the second trimester and most of my third trimester, is when I didn't see you. But they were still getting my records forwarded to them because that's a whole nother story in itself. So they kept on saying, oh, we'll call you back. Never got a response. I called the next day. Same thing. Oh, we'll have to call you back. So at that point, I started doing some more research and I did a lot of looking at this hospital and their reviews. And my feelings were valid. There was a lot of bad reviews on this hospital about things that were happening in this hospital just a week ago, 3 weeks ago. That ultimately made up my mind that I absolutely did not want to labor at this hospital, have my baby at this hospital, even if my old doctor could take me back. So me and my husband sat down and we chose to go back to where we had Willow. We chose to go back to Boston. But the problem is we need to find another doctor. So I ended up calling the hospital OB department and I explained my situation to them. And the lady says, unfortunately, we cannot take you. She goes, but let me give you a number and see if they can take you. It was to the fetal medicine department of the hospital, which was the same department that we went and seen our doctor when we had Willow, when we transferred over to Boston after we found out all the bad news about her, for our second opinion thing. So anyway, so I had called, I had to leave a voicemail, and I left my voicemail, and they said that they can get up to me up to 2 business days. And at this point, it was already a Friday. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to hear from them for next week. Here we are a week later, and I still have, I'm supposed to see a doctor every week, and I haven't even seen a doctor yet. And here we are going on a whole week with no care. So, because all the other places I would call would say, oh, we'll get back to you, and they don't get back to you. And then even like, I was still at this point waiting to hear back from my old OB. They still hadn't got back to me. So within 2 hours, the fetal medicine place called me, and they had 3 appointments set up for me. They had the first one for a virtual call with one of the PAs to get me all situated and make sure they had everything they needed. And then the second appointment, this is all within the same week. Second appointment was for an ultrasound, and that same day is when I would see my new OB. So it was all happening in 1 week, which was actually this week. Today was my virtual appointment. In 2 days, I'll have my physical in-person appointment with my ultrasound and stuff. So it was great. Like, I was thankful. And so it just confirmed with us that Boston is where we need to be to have him. Even though we have tragedy at that hospital, we might even finally be able to walk out of that hospital with a baby instead of walking out empty-handed like we did last time 2 years ago. So, or a year and a half ago. So I just feel like everything's coming in full circle. It's happened the way it was supposed to happen. I shouldn't have had to go through all the bullshit that I went through, but I did. Then, after all that happened, later on that day, after they called me back and made all those appointments for me and said, yes, they'll take me on as a patient, as I was already a patient of theirs, and they specialize in high risk. My old OB office called. They ended up leaving a voicemail because I didn't even want to talk to them at this point because I had already had appointments for Boston. And so I knew I was going to Boston. My appointment with them, they'll accept me. But my appointment was March 28th, a week before my due date. So I would have no prenatal care for 3 whole weeks. Like, I was so dumbfounded. I said, are you kidding me? I might even have him before then. Like March 28th is when you want to have me come in for my first appointment back with the practice a week before my due date? Are you absolutely crazy? I didn't even call them back. I'm like, you know what? This is why I stopped going to this office to begin with, because their sense of care and urgency is not there anymore. So pretty much that was my 34-week week. It was a lot, very emotional, very, very stressful. My blood pressure was high that whole week because I have to monitor my blood pressure. Yeah, it was a rough week, you guys, for my 34th week. But that's what happened, and it's a doozy. And I'm sorry it was kind of a long video, but is what it is. So now we just know that we are in the right hands. I feel like we're in the right hands. Maybe this is how it was supposed to be to begin with. And apparently all the kids that I have birthed will be birthed in Massachusetts. It just so happened twins were born in Massachusetts. Willow was born in Massachusetts. And now this baby will be born in Massachusetts. And I'm okay with that because I was born in Massachusetts. So is what it is. Comes full circle, But all right, you guys. Until